friends, welcome back to Rod's World TV. If you have not done so, I need you to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel because it's always going down. Today, I am here with a special guest, my older brother. He's the eldest child, Shea, and we are about to get into it. I'm actually surprised that he is actually in the building today because today the topic is relationships. We're going to be talking about growing up with siblings, and I just want to encourage each and every person, if you are not in a speaking position with your brother or your sister, or if you are having issues at this time, I want you to know that you can work on your relationship and you can get into a better place. There's so many people struggling with the dynamics within their relationships with their siblings, whether it's a brother and brother or sisters. And I want you to know that Shea and I are going to be authentic in this moment because we have come a mighty long way. I would like to say that the pandemic has definitely brought us closer. And I want to encourage you that it doesn't matter how far you feel like the relationship might be torn, you can start to rebuild and you can start to have a relationship. I'll never forget the day when my brother asked me, he's like, I know that you didn't like me. But I wanted to say that it wasn't that I did not like him, but I did not know him and I did not understand him because the dynamics were so different. You might not know, viewers, but we have a 5-year gap in between us. And many people would say, oh, I knew about Shayla because Shayla and I are closer. We have a 4-year gap, but we were always together. In regard to my brother, he was older and he went away to school, and it was always like a weird dynamic. And I'm going to take some ownership because I was a tattletale. I used to keep him in trouble. I'll never forget the day that we were spending some time by my grandmother. My parents were away, and I was going to school, and we had a trip to the gym, and we passed our house on the way home because we lived about 10 minutes away from school. And I was passing on the school bus, and I looked, and I'm like, hold on, is that Shea inside the car going out, and he's supposed to be at school? I said, as soon as I reach him, I got to tell Grammy Shea is on the road and he is not in school where he's supposed to be. Where my brother caught me when we reached to him and Grammy was screaming at him, he said, you see what, you're going to cause me to die and I am your brother? You would really throw me under the bus like that? And I can't lie, I felt so bad in that moment because I'm like, oh my goodness, I threw my brother under the bus. I'll never forget another day we were playing around and I just said something to him and he was just like, you know what, I got you. The boy went inside the bed with the blood.
Oh my God.
Tell me how I heard it. And I'm like, Shashi, what are you talking about? There is so many stories I have.
I have to interject now.
Okay, what you got to say?
So in essence, we're just talking about Sherrod as a bad person. So he has come a long way, ladies and gentlemen, as you could see. But I would say, yes, our relationship definitely has come a long way. Sherrod and me are definitely, when it comes to the brother and the siblings type of dynamic, we are definitely, I would say,
opposites.
Cain and Abel.
We are Cain and Abel. So, we're salt and pepper. We're water and oil.
Right. I think God made it that way.
We were that way, but like we have
but
that understanding.
Growing up,
now.
we were basically totally different in terms of how we came up. I would say both of us have come a long way.
We have come a long way. And honestly, I would want to say that Shea, he was definitely into the sports, and that's where he shined. So I decided that I would take up the books, and then that would be my way to maneuver. Because sometimes when you have a sibling, you have to realize that the two of you are completely different.
Right.
As much as you might think you're alike, and as much as you might be doing certain things, you have to realize that at the end of the day, you're a different person, and you have to come into yourself.
Absolutely.
And I think it took Shea moving away and going to school and being on his own allowed him to come into himself, as well as me being there. And one thing I would say, he was definitely afraid that I was too sheltered. I'll never forget, even when I moved to Canada, he told my parents, I'm afraid because Sherrod has been sheltered his entire life. And you throwing him out there would be like throwing him out to the wolves. And I'm going to be honest and keep it real. Like, I'll never forget, even when he first moved back home, and it was an adjustment for him and it was an adjustment for all of us because now the house is full, and it was really good to help him back there. But I'm not gonna lie, we did definitely had a rustle and a tussle the first time he came back, and I feel like he had to make his position known that I am the older person and I'm back, and then I had to learn when to submit and when to be quiet and to allow him to speak. So sometimes we got to realize that as much as you might think you might be right in the situation and in an instance, sometimes you got to allow that person to speak because you don't know what that person is going through. So
I would say, I think it's a lot of that. I think families really have a lot of dynamic. I feel like a lot of families have a lot of different personalities, have a lot of different characters.
That's right.
So it's a lot. I mean, we have to really just say, I mean, you know, a lot of us. It's
why
just
do you
different.
feel like? Why do you feel like?
I mean, a
siblings
lot
can
of
clash,
okay.
though?
So let's talk about that for a minute. Like, why do siblings really clash? Like, why? I think first of all, I think we have to go back to where it's stated. I mean, in the Bible and stuff, like God never really ordained it. I mean, for us to have family, right? And
That's true.
You have Cain and the Abel, and you have all of this stuff. So, I mean, you really have to fight.
You gotta,
you know what I mean, to have a relationship. I feel
like it's harder to have a relationship than not to have a relationship, because when jealousy and envy and everything else comes into play as well, and sometimes you don't even know why you have those type of feelings for that sibling, and sometimes it's other people telling you something, and then that kind of make you think a certain way. But one thing I want to tell people: do not discredit somebody else's experience. You might not understand that experience, or your perspective, or the way that you saw that situation play out was differently, but you still have to honor what that person said that they went through, and you got to apologize to them if you hurt them in that moment, because sometimes you might hear a story. I always tell people that there's 3 sides to every story. It's your side, my side, and the truth. So the truth got to be somewhere in the middle.
So I mean, absolutely. So I mean, what I would say is, first, I mean, you have the gaps. You brought into the gaps and the age gaps. So you have to first, like, just be logical. You know, this is my older brother, this is my younger brother. But then it has to, there's a shift too, where like that stuff doesn't even matter no more.
That's right. And I feel like for us, that was a hard problem, because Ethan, I would say you might be born first, but you're not my oldest brother, because I didn't feel like we had that type of relationship. But one thing I want to remind everyone is that you still should be respectful to your sibling. You might not be in the best place at a certain time, but you still need to be able to understand their differences and accept them for their differences.
And yeah, I think that's mainly what it is. I mean, we come from a very Caribbean, old way of like thinking. And
we from the Bahamas, 242 rise up.
Yeah, we come, whereas the oldest child is almost like a parent. You know what I'm saying? They're in charge of some of the, you know, the decisions and you know, some of the things, you know, because they kind of bully themselves into that, you know, position, you know, because I'm this.
Lil Nat, I'm calling you out, because we know you got everybody in a row lined right up. We know that you're the heir to the throne.
The heir to the throne syndrome. You know?
And I feel like that's what happens with a lot of people. And then the second child comes up, and sometimes we're like, hold on, our voice should matter too. We should have a say.
I want the star. I want to be a star too, type of thing.
Right. So sometimes
y'all have a complexity too.
That's right. So I will accept that, because sometimes as the middle child, or sometimes as the second child, you're trying to find your position as well, because you have to realize that you already came into a relationship because the parents are already there with that child. So I can't even so sometimes I used to feel neglected, but I had to realize that my parents had to give him that extra time because he needed that time. And probably it would be vice versa as well. He might be like, okay, why is Shea talking so much, or why is this going on? And I feel like you got to get to that position where every voice is being heard, and you got to make sure that you have people who actually care about the relationship, giving you advice and actually speaking to both sides to get the sides of the story and try to bring the family back together again. I feel like there's too much bad blood in a lot of families. There's too much negativity and hostility, and sometimes you don't even want to go to dinner with your family because you don't know what about to pop off. And in regard to our family, we are a family of 5. We have Shayla, we have our parents, and we all have a big personality. I've never seen it. Sometimes I feel like we are about to just go to war, but it's still love at the end of the day. And every time we have an argument or a disagreement, we have the respect to come to that person and be like, I'm sorry, I think I might have gone a little too far.
Right. I think it's all about just being mature, you know, at the end of the day. I mean, when you're young, I think you kind of you wear your heart on your sleeve and you just do anything. I think it's a whole development thing of being tested and growing and the whole thing. I mean, you really cannot get the whole meal without going through the preparation. So I feel like every family, like when you're going through it, like, and you can't talk to your brother, you can't talk to your sister, you can't talk to your mom or your dad. Like, I mean, it's like you have to understand, like, everybody's been there. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, if you live long enough, you're gonna be there. You know what I'm saying? Like they're gonna do something to you
that's gonna turn you right
know what
off.
I mean? Because you have a high expectation.
And I think that's it. Sometimes we have expectation from people. And if you turn back to the last episode when Jason talked about not having expectation from people so you're not disappointed when they don't show up for you, there's an expectation that is there for your family members because you expect them to have your
More
back.
than anybody.
More than anybody. And so when your family disappoints you and when your family knows the daggers to throw at you to hurt you until you say that you're fat, that you're not going to amount to anything, that you're stupid, that you're dumb, that you're ugly, you feel it worse because it's coming from somebody that's supposed to be there to support you and say that you are handsome, you are beautiful, you will be able to accomplish every goal, you will be successful. It doesn't matter how far things might seem or it might feel like things might be out of your reach, you can do it. So I want to encourage each and every person listening to this podcast, we need to change our perspective and the way that we speak to our family members and make sure that we're uplifting them, that we're encouraging them, and that we're bringing out the best in them.
And for the family members who are on the other end of the spectrum too, I mean, you have to understand too that it is a process. I mean, sometimes you're gonna hear these things from the other family member, and you have to kind of build a mental fortitude toward. I mean, because sometimes I would say over the years growing up, when you hear things coming from a family member, and then when you hear it coming from somebody else, it doesn't even sting.
You don't feel it.
You don't feel it. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's all about a process. I think more so what we need to be like people, I would tell people is like just keep like every experience, like just keep it for an experience. Like try to like not be too hard, not be too high, not be too low, but try to like really understand like why this happening.
Right.
Like why this person saying
why the person is acting like that, because sometimes people are acting up and we're just be like, that's just the person, but what made the person act like that? And I feel like that's the root that we need to get to. This if Shea Ashley is acting up and he fighting and he breaking down the door, why is he doing it? And I want to speak to people because in every family there's always that somebody would say like a black sheep or the person that don't fit in, but I want you to know that you do have a place, that you were born with a purpose and a reason, and you were placed in your family for a reason. So if you're not on good terms with your family members, I want you to talk it out. And sometimes you got to realize that not every relationship is going to be the same, and we have to be able to understand and deal with that accordingly and still show love to the person.
Because I think what we kind of forget is there's a whole dynamic, right? You have your parents, and then you have these people who you born with, right? Like who's with you. Like,
you didn't get to choose me,
right? There's no default.
It's not a friend who you get to choose.
This is just. And we're, as they say, we come from the old school. Like,
but hold on, since you said that, one thing I always remember you saying is that your family is your friends. So what's the dynamic difference between?
So that has. So listen, like everybody, we have personalities, right? And let's say you might not necessarily, your personality necessarily doesn't match your sibling, right? Like you have different beliefs or something. I think there always has to be some type of common ground, some type of respect. You know what I mean? Regardless of what I've done to you, what was happened, whatever. I think there just has to be some level of like, okay, like, this person is like just a little different. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just has to be that kind of like, it has to be a regard.
Right. And the thing is, we all know what to say to trigger the next person. So if you already know that you and the person isn't in a good place, you shouldn't be coming out guns blazing. You should be like, hold on, let me think about what this person might be going through that have them acting out that way. And sometimes it could just be a misunderstanding. It could be just somebody having bad feelings. But it could just be all solved with a conversation. The problem is many of us don't like to have conversations and we like to sweep things under the rug and then just move on. But then when we do explode, when everything comes up and comes out, you're like, whoa.
But we're blessed. I mean, to whereas we've been apart and we've come together and we've had all the.
We went years without speaking at one time.
We were living in different places and all that, right? But as I said, there has to be some type of, I think, respect level, some type of, and that's for every family member. I feel like even with cousins and first cousins especially. I mean, and you might not necessarily like them or like the things that they do, or and trust me, you can find somebody way down the line that I'm talking about. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Because it's just family. But when you see them, or if you know what I mean, there has to be some level of like, hey, like, you know, like you're not like,
right.
You know
just keep it cordial. Like we
Right.
need to have that level of respect, and I feel like that should be for every dynamic.
Right.
One thing I always tell people, when I go to bed, I don't want to be having no problems. I don't have nobody on my brain. I don't be tossing and turning. I wonder if this cousin is upset with me, or my brother, did I hurt him, or why Shayla ain't talking to me. And like I try to say, it's always better just to talk things out. And we have to realize, based on what Ethan Shea just said, that everybody has a different belief system. So you still need to be able to respect that person and be there for that person. We need to change our stance. If we are not there uplifting each other, then we need to reevaluate ourselves, and that takes a lot of introspection to make sure that we are acting and we are living intentionally to better ourselves, because at the end of the day, everybody just want to be successful in life, and we should be trying to push people to do well. So if you have a sibling that is academically inclined or smart, you need to say, you know what, you go for your bachelor's, you go for your master's, you go for your doctorate. And if you see somebody else who isn't academically inclined, but they are physically motivated and they got hands like no other, and they want to get into a trade, you be the best engineer that you can be. You be the best plumber. You be the best electrician. We have to realize that every person in life plays a role, and we have to realize that we just need to discover our purpose.
Absolutely. I think that's what you're saying. I mean, I think with you saying that, it aligns with as
and everybody is important, because even I was talking about even us growing up, like we have successful cousins and we have successful aunties and uncles, and it's almost like everybody wants to have that same level of respect, but we have to use these people as inspiration, but still be able to find a lane for ourselves, because there's only one Shea and there's only one Sherrod. You might try and fit in these size 13 shoes, but they're not going to fit for you. So you need to make sure that you find a shoe size that fits with you, so you can go about your day and make the decisions that you need to make, so you can be the best person you can be. We all need to work on our life. My cousin Catherine, she always talks about intentional living, having a purpose-filled life, and that's what each and every one of us need to have. We have our cousin David, and he's there talking about his experience with multiple sclerosis.
Absolutely.
And he talks about his experiences, and we have to encourage and support these people who are going out there, living their truth out loud and talking about their experiences. And that's the reason why I started this podcast, because I want to be able to talk about hot issues, talk about dynamics that I personally sometimes don't want to talk about, but I want to be able to keep it real with you, because it can resonate with somebody to realize, you know what? The beef that we carrying is not worth it. Some people haven't spoken in 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. And in 1 second, that person could be gone just like that. And you did not have the opportunity to make bygones be bygones, or at least come together and say, you know what, let's have respect at the end of the day. Shea, I respect your flow. I respect everything that you're doing as an entrepreneur, and I'm here to support you. I know sometimes you might feel like we are not there to support, but we are here. And sometimes you just need to say it to that person so they can know that the support is there. Sometimes they don't feel it, but they should know that I can call on you in my time of trouble, and I should be able to call on you when things are going well. And that's the thing. We need people to be with us in the trenches and in the victory. When we in the bleachers, when we in the penthouse, we need the rider or diers with us all the way through.
And that's what it's all about. Just good energy, staying focused, manifesting the stuff that you
come
want.
on through. You got to come with the manifesting.
Law of attraction, you know, and just zooming in on yourself. I think people just really forget. I mean, I mean, a lot of people take it as being selfish, but you have to really zoom in on yourself sometimes. Sometimes you really have to just, you know what, close your eyes and say, you know what, this is what I want for myself, and just go for it. And you will fail, and you will drop down, you will lose, but at the end of the day, if you keep on fighting, you're going to get it, and you got to get back up. And the thing I also want to mention, sometimes you might have a family member and they might not encourage you to go after your dreams, because many of us are comfortable in where we're at. Because even me saying I want to start a podcast, or I want to start YouTube, they're like, okay, what about your other job, your career? Like, are you going to put that on hold? But I want to tell people you should go explore what you want out of life. Sometimes it takes that pressure and things going wrong for you to realize, like, hold on, like, I really need to go after my dream and my goal. So do not
allow anybody to deter you, whether it's your mother, your father, your brother, your sister. In your heart, if you feel like this is something that you're supposed to do, go out there. If you fail, try again. It's never too late to start a new chapter. Whether you're trying to decide whether you should go back to school to start a new career, I want to encourage you and implore you to go after your goals, because life is short. We have to make sure that we're able to excel and really be happy at the end of the day. When we are done, we got to say, well, I lived a big life. I did everything that I wanted to do. There's no regrets. So I want to encourage each and every person. If you even going from punching your brother, I want you to hug your brother today. If you was there slapping up your sister, I want you to embrace her with a hug and a kiss and realize that life is too short.
And it's a part of the game too. You know what I mean? I just want you, like, don't take it personal. I feel like with siblings and everything, I mean, you have to understand that life, sometimes it isn't as you say, as long as we think it is.
It's not.
I mean? So when you have to look, when you do those things, sometimes you just don't take it personal. Sometimes, as you say, like, things happen. You know what I mean?
Happen.
People make mistakes.
Right.
People are developing. People are maturing.
And it's never too late to grow and mature. And I think that's one thing I want to point out to each and every person listening. And I want you to know that I want you to share this with that sibling who you might be at odds with, or anybody who you're not in a good place with, whether it's a friend. Because
and I think we should even talk on just the parents for a minute. I mean, in terms of our dynamic with our parents, because I think that's a lot of things. I think a lot of kids put a lot of pressure on their parents because I feel like the parents have so much control sometimes of their life that sometimes they may feel that when they mess up, you know what I mean, the first person, that's when a guy who's sitting in jail, like, or anybody who the first
they reflect back and they blame the mom or the dad.
You blame. Like, who you blame when you mess up? Feel me?
And that's the thing to go about. A lot of people live in the past as well. So a lot of people are having problems growing and maturing into the person they need to be because they still have up their mom, they have up their dad for abandoning them or getting into arguments with them or beating them up. Because we from the Caribbean, we in America, we know how to throw a punch and how to receive ones.
And I feel like that is so tied to even mental health. You know what I mean? I mean, I feel for a big thing for me, even going forward, I had to go and deal with a lot of the stuff that I felt. So even, I mean, to be the person who I want to be, you wouldn't even know what type of speed bumps come out of nowhere. You know what I mean? On the parents' move to say, oh, this thing that my parents said to me that time ago, that's still sticking to me, and you treat me that way, so so I mean, I feel like beyond the siblings too, I mean, we have to really talk about the parents too, you know what I mean?
And it's okay to get a therapist or bring somebody else in with a fresh pair of eyes to see and evaluate the situation, because even in regard to the relationship with the parents are still going to see it from another perspective as well, but they still need to hear your side and understand where you're coming from and respect your viewpoint and what you went through, because that was your experience.
And it's the same, brother. The thing is, I mean, and I feel like a lot of relationships with siblings don't even get to you don't even get to have a relationship with your sibling because of your parents. It could be something with your parents, you see what I'm saying? Whereas your mom, like this one more,
and that happened in a lot of families.
I don't rock with you like that because my mom, she like you more than my dad, and
so I mean, with the tea, because that is something that a lot of people go through.
So how we gonna have a relationship? Right?
And sometimes you spite in that person because you be like, hold on, you team mommy, I ain't on your run.
Or you grow up, or you just see a favoritism or something. So a lot of siblings, like they don't even have a chance from the get-go to talk about, let's be a friend or let's thing, because at the end of the day, it's so much. You live with that person, right? That person that gets to see things that, you know what I mean, nobody gets to see. You know what I mean? That's basically a person that's like you're married to without even like knowing.
You had no say in the situation.
No say.
It was not like a married at first sight. It was almost like a married like first sight.
You know what I'm saying? And they just there. You know what I mean? They ain't even a piece of furniture or nothing. Like this person like living and breathing and taking up space and eating up food, and you know what I mean? Like how you gonna eat more food than me? Or And
I'm telling you, that used to be with us because I was always big and fat and he was skinny and he didn't understand how come I was so big and he felt like I had more food than him. But the food was still there on the table.
No, but I'm just saying, it's just so much, right? And then even too, it's just like you sit into a table with all of these people, and then you get into the mental game is maybe I don't even feel like eating right now. You know what I mean? And this person develops like a thing for food. They don't even want to sit to the table and eat because the mom is give him the cold plate and give this one the hot plate. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's definitely a dynamic that we definitely have
I
to
mean, this
explore.
this brother, I think this is definitely a trigonology. I mean, we didn't even get into who we are and what we do, but I mean, we just talking about just a relationship. I mean, how we could come and say now that we
actually have a friendship. We choose to actually be in each other's space because before, like I said, there was no relationship there. So if you want to say that's my brother, like I know we came out the same womb, but are we really brothers? But now we have made the conscious decision to try and be friends and to put.
And I think it just happened overnight. Like it really, I think it's just. I feel like you can't look at when it's at a brother or a sibling and be like, hey, we didn't have this or that, because that person is so caught up in living their life and like moving and doing things and accomplishing different things that they forget that they even supposed to even have a relationship. I remember I was running like a business and like 2 businesses and come back to Toronto and I saw y'all in a car and I just didn't even you know what I mean? Like triggered, like I didn't see y'all in a whole year. You know what I mean? I just had so much on my head and everything. It's just like, I just saw y'all and it's just like, hey, and then he just kept on doing what I did because it was just like, I'm so caught up
in
my own world and in my own life and in my own whatever, all of this stress and paying people and doing this thing and that it's just like, what relationship? Like I didn't even ask for to have this relationship, but it's like, no, I actually do have brothers and sisters. So I mean, I think it's just a wave. Like I think it's something that, I mean, as I say, you can't take personal on either hand.
You can't, no.
Because people really out here, like you don't know what they doing it for. You don't know what they really like staying away for. You don't know what they got like in the back of their head. You know what I'm saying? Like, but they really dreaming. You know what I'm saying? So that's the whole problem. You know what I mean? I feel like siblings, you really can't take it personal because people really out here living life.
And you can't be competing with your sibling.
No, they live in life.
You can't. That's what I'm trying to say. I can't be keeping up with you. Like you understand?
Yeah, I can't be right.
And you can't be competing with me
because I'm
living
living
in your lane, or there is gonna be a collision. We are gonna crash if we continue to walk.
Absolutely, but we've never been the one to like pump chests because, as I said,
we've never done that. That's one thing I would say. Yeah, we've never done that to say, "Oh, I did this" or "You did that." Like we've never really gotten into that.
And I would say that because I'm the type of person where I would say that I just left y'all alone. Like I was so caught up in.
I honestly could realize that there was a point in life when we didn't speak with you for like almost 3 years because when you moved to Calgary, like that was.
Yeah, I was just gone. I was lost in the sauce. Like I was just, hey, I have to make it. I have to accomplish my dreams.
Right.
Like I have to think of, and it wasn't necessarily that I didn't like love y'all or I didn't think of y'all. It's just, I was just so caught up in like trying to make it.
You didn't see anybody else.
Like I didn't even see it.
So guys, you hear what he's saying. You cannot take everything personal because honestly, when he was away from me, like I was just worried about myself and being on my grind.
Right.
So sometimes when you don't hear from somebody, you think that they mad at you or they think that there's a beef there. But sometimes that person is so immersed in their own life and the challenges that they're going through and trying to make it for themselves, they don't see you. You might still be in the rearview mirror, but they still know that you're there. Right. So if you feel away, sometimes you do need to have a conversation with that person, and sometimes things aren't worth rehashing. If you have really allowed that situation to freeze and to dry up, just move forward. Why am I going to be talking about things that happened when 5 years old?
We're talking about these things, and you even brought that up, and that's kind of hit home with me because I was like, yeah, that's actually that's true. Like
you actually kind of remember, but you never thought about it like that.
Thought about it like that. So that's what the podcast is all about. I mean, like,
big friend, I got plenty stories. but we ain't gonna share no more today.
No.
I want to thank Shea for coming on the mic. I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out to listen and to watch this podcast. This is Rod Talks, and like I tell you, we are gonna keep it real. We are gonna get into deep conversations. We're gonna be talking about hot topics. We're gonna throw in a little gossip, so don't come for me in the comments. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because it's always going down.